Excellent. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Education to order. It is Tuesday, December 8th, and the Portland Board of Education is meeting virtually through Zoom. May I please ask the superintendent to call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bondo?
Présente.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Irish?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Presente.
Ms. Russell-Better?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Ms. Trevorrow?
Here.
Mr. Youssef?
Here.
Ms. Allen?
Here.
Ms. Boxer-McCumber? Ms. Chung? Ms. Hill?
She is, one moment, she'll be a panelist.
I will check her present. And Ms. Yangala? And Chair Figdor.
Here. Okay, thank you. Would everyone please rise or for the Pledge of Allegiance? And we have a flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I want to welcome you to a new year on the Portland Board of Education. A special welcome to our 3 new board members, Youssef, our new at-large member, Ora Russell-Better, our new District 4 representative, and Jeff Irish, our new District 5 representative. It's so good to have you with us. And a special welcome also to our new student board reps, Tessa Boxer-McCumber, representing Portland High School, Emily Chung, representing Deering High School, Abigail Hill, representing PAS, Haley Allen, representing Casco Bay High School. And we are so pleased that Ms. Yangala is joining us for a second year representing, Portland Adult Ed. I want to thank you again for electing me as chair. I am so honored to lead this board. And as I said at our caucus for chair, I plan to focus on helping you as a board be engaged and also engaging the community. And for your part, you'll hear from me, but please also tell me how I can help you. I know we're all busy and juggling a lot in addition to serving on this board. If you have questions, want to get caught up on something, have concerns about an issue or something that's happening, or anything of the sort, reach out to me and we'll figure it out together. I want to be a resource to you. And as I see it, the more we're all communicating, the better job we're going to do together. I also like feedback, including hearing when things are not going well, so I can do better and we can problem solve. So be in touch. And if during the work week you don't hear right back from me, with my day job, I work on deadlines. So sometimes it's hard for me to get away, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. And then other times I'll be on the ski slopes, but I will work hard to be available to you. And the same goes for sure, and maybe even more so for the student reps. I really value your role on the board, and I know others do as well. In fact, Mr. Rodriguez is going to serve as your mentor, which I think you already know. So essentially, we're going to double team you because we value so much the role that you have on this board, representing your schools. So let us know, especially in these early days as you're figuring out how things work, let us help you out.
I would just like to say thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm very, very excited to be able to, again, have this opportunity and to work with all of you and learn so much and advocate for the childcare profession. And I'm just very thankful for this opportunity, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Abigail.
Of course.
So the first thing that we're going to do tonight is review the board meeting dates for the year. And the calendar is in board docs, but I will go ahead and share the link if I can manage to in the chat. Just give me 1 second, and there it is. For the new members, we typically have board meetings on the first and third Tuesdays of the month, but some months we need to meet on alternate Tuesdays due to school vacations or federal or religious holidays. And note that the board does not convene in July. So looking ahead, our next meeting is December 22nd. Then in the new year, we meet first on January 5th. I also wanted to note for our new members and students that our meetings begin at 6 p.m. Sometimes they will begin with an executive session. If that's the case, the student reps in public will join after the executive session, which is typically an hour. And we don't necessarily know far in advance which meetings will have executive sessions or not, but we'll try and keep you updated as much as possible. And then I want to thank Anne for adding the board meeting dates to the central calendar today. So if you're subscribed to that calendar, you should have gotten all of the meetings in your calendar magically. So Anne, thank you so much. It is a huge help in just keeping us as board members organized day to day. So thank you. Really appreciate that. Are there any questions about the board calendar? Okay. Next, I wanted to review committee assignments for the year. I sent this via email earlier in the day, but the assignments are not straightforward. There's a lot of interest in particular committees, and so the assignments really balance board members' personal interests, ongoing involvement in committee work by members who were serving previously, time capacity, along with the need to advance the work and to benefit from multiple perspectives and experience and also representation. So I'm going to just run through the 2020-2021 board committees. So first we have the appointments committee. And on the appointments committee is Ms. Trevorrow, Ms. Bondo, and Mr. Irish. And Ms. Trevorrow is the chair. Next is the curriculum committee. And on the curriculum committee, we have Mr. Burke, Mr. Rodriguez, and Ms. Bondo. And Mr. Burke is the chair. Next is the finance committee. And on the finance committee, we have Ms. Trevorrow, Mr. Rodriguez, and Mr. Burke, and Ms. Trevorrow is the chair. The operations committee is Ms. Thompson, Mr. Irish, and Mr. Youssef, and Ms. Thompson is the chair. For the policy committee, we have Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Irish, and Ms. Russell-Better, and Mr. Rodriguez is the chair. And our final committee is the public affairs committee, and that's Ms. Bondo, Ms. Russell-Better, and Mr. Youssef, with Ms. Bondo as the chair. For the students, I think Mr. Rodriguez will talk with the students about your interest in participating on the committees, and we want to incorporate you into the committee work as much as you have time and ability to devote the time to it. So if you have a particular interest, definitely talk with Mr. Rodriguez, and we will connect you to the committee chairs and make sure that you're integrated into that work. Okay, I think that is it for my report. With that, we are going to, let's see, has Miss Chung been able to join us yet?
Not yet. She said about 6:20.
Okay. So Emily Chung is going to do the first student report of the year today for Deering High School, but she had to join us a little bit late. So we're going to go to the report of the superintendent, and then after that we'll come back and hear the report of from the students about Deering High School. So, Mr. Superintendent, we are ready for your remarks.
I would like to begin my comments today by recognizing the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand, the Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki, or people of the Dawnland. We're honored to have their children among our students today. I would like to formally congratulate Ms. Figdor for becoming the new board chair. I very much look forward to working in close partnership with you this year as we confront the many challenges that are arrayed before us. I'd like to congratulate the board on selecting Ms. Figdor. I think that's a wise choice, and I very much look forward to this coming year. I would like to recognize today Rachel Bodie, a special education teacher at Lyseth Elementary School, for renewing her National Board Teacher Certification. Rachel is with us here tonight. Can you wave so that everybody can see you? So the Portland Public Schools supports and encourages teachers to achieve best practice in teaching. And one of the most rigorous and relevant ways for educators to improve their teaching practice, which we believe ultimately improves outcomes for students, is through attaining their National Board certification in the content area of their expertise. National Board certification, for those who don't know it, is considered the gold standard in teacher certification. Rachel Bodie, formerly known as Rachel Landry, for those who may have had her for your children or otherwise know her, has been with the Portland Public Schools since 2012. Rachel started out at East End Community School and joined the staff at Lyseth Elementary School in 2013. She holds a bachelor's degree in music education from James Madison University and began her teaching career as a middle school teacher in Virginia. She next earned a master's degree in education from Virginia Tech and was a special education teacher in Waldoboro and in Westbrook before joining our district. She became a National Board certified teacher in November of 2011 and has now renewed her certification for another decade. And I did a double take when I saw this because it's hard to believe that a decade is through November 2031. So Rachel is one of the amazing 16 teachers in our district who currently holds this level of certification. Board certification allows teachers to hone their practice, showcase their talent in the classroom, and demonstrate their dedication to their students and their profession. Rachel told us that the process of becoming a national certified teacher has required her to closely examine her teaching practice over a long period of time. She told us that it's led her to continually make sure that she understands the needs of her students and is providing them with the best tools that they need to grow. Our people goal in the Portland Promise calls for us to attract and retain a talented and diverse staff and ensure that our staff members have the skills and support that they need to realize expectations. We're incredibly proud of you, Rachel, for pursuing this goal, and even more proud of you having achieved it. So congratulations, and we honor you here today. Normally, we would be standing up and giving you a standing ovation, but we haven't quite figured out how to do that with pomp on Zoom, but I know that we will eventually get there. And you will be getting a certificate recognizing you for today's recognition. And I don't know if you would like to say any words to the board, but we would love to if you did.
Yeah, so I just think,
the experience of working through the national board certification just really helps a person understand their teaching and what the skills that you need to be the most effective teacher that you can be. And I wasn't going to renew, and someone asked me to do that, and I'm really glad that I did. I just hope that all the principals and teachers out there encourage them to pursue their national board certification, because it really is a great way to improve your teaching ability.
And did you do it in partnership with someone? So was that?
I didn't. The first time I did it, I had a team of 5 students at my school that pursued it. But sadly, I'm the only one at LISET, so.
Let's work on that.
Yes, for sure.
So, thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Tonight, the Portland Public School mourns the loss of former Superintendent Manny Cox, who died this past weekend. He was 49. Manny led the Portland Public Schools from 2012 to 2015 when he left to become school superintendent for the Fayette County Public Schools, a 40,000 student school system in Kentucky. During his 3+ years in Portland, Manny made a difference in the lives of students, families, and staff. The district will be forever grateful for Manny's dedication and service, and we extend our deepest sympathies to Mr. Cox's family. A month ago, we launched POSIP, a parent engagement platform that lets parents easily share praise and feedback about their schools in multiple languages. Last weekend, parents received a second quick online survey from their child's school, asking them general questions about their school experience during these past 3 weeks and asking for their feedback. As you know, each school is able to review the responses, and it's designed for them to use the feedback to tailor a response to its community. This is part of our efforts to understand how to improve our responsiveness to family concerns. I would like to thank the families who took the time to answer the survey. We care deeply about your feedback and appreciate your commitment to helping us understand how we're doing. Last week, over 200 participants joined me and the leaders of all 3 high schools for our Parent U session to launch a new season of Portland Public School High School Choices for our 8th grade students. Needless to say, this year will be different, beginning with that Zoom-based seminar. We've launched a new website, which can be found in the banner on our district website. It's chock full of important information for parents and students on the process and each of the school options. I would like to thank our school leaders and their teams, but especially Assistant Superintendent Aaron Townsend and Executive Director for Communications and Community Partnerships, Grace Valenzuela, for their work in this process. As many of you recall, last fall, the board reaffirmed its commitment to a high school choice, but also asked that we work centrally to develop and manage a more inclusive and less competitive process. I think we've taken major steps in this direction and look forward to continuing that work through this year's process and beyond. We also have an upcoming Parent U session on career and technical education, which is scheduled for Monday, December 21st. This session is part of a series of regional workshops looking to get community input on what our vision for 21st century career and technical education should look like. I'm hoping that we will have another strong turnout for this important session, which is part of our regional collaboration under the Greater Sebago Educational Alliance. Next, as we've been doing throughout the fall, we're going to update you on our school reopening. Tonight, we will be providing an update on our technology procurement and rollout, an update on our remote academy enrollment as we roll into the second trimester, and an overview of our winter athletics and co-curricular plans. But before we start, I would like to give an explanation of how we decide to close a school because of the number of COVID cases. As many of you know, we currently have Rowe Elementary School, Moore Middle School, and Portland High School closed as a result of the prevalence of COVID cases. Those decisions are made at the district level by me in consultation with our public health officials, nurse consultant Tina Velu, our medical officer, Dr. Pat Patterson, the school's leadership, and Assistant Superintendent Townsend. When possible, we follow direct advice from the Maine CDC, although that hasn't happened of late as the cases surge and CDC is hard-pressed to stay on top of the school situation. In the absence of direct guidance, we follow the written guidance issued by the State Department of Education and the CDC. Generally, when we have 3 or more unrelated cases, we treat them as an outbreak. If they're contained to a cohort or 2 in a single class, we close only that classroom and any other directly affected areas for 14 days. If the cases are in more than one setting, we follow guidance that suggests that we should assume that the spread is widespread and close the full school. Under the CDC guidance, the spaces directly affected should be kept dormant for 7 days prior to cleaning. And because close contacts must quarantine for 14 days and all others for 10 days or 7 days and a negative PCR test, we have generally treated potential outbreaks as such and closed the school for 14 days from the last day that the infection was present in school. I understand that there are those who think that we are being overly conservative. I recognize the challenge that school closings present for families. We have prioritized keeping schools open in a safe and healthy manner and will continue to do so, but we will need to make these calls based on the available data. I would also like to take a moment to update you on our testing options. As you know, we've had an arrangement with Greater Portland Health since we reopened school to provide symptomatic rapid testing at a district-based site. Since cases have started to multiply, when we have a large number of close contacts, we have arranged to have on-site testing through Northern Lights Healthcare. We did that this week at Portland High School, where we had over 60 close contacts in the most recent cases. And we're also in the process of establishing a relationship with a vendor to provide asymptomatic testing for staff and families when they are determined to be close contacts, but when there are not enough cases to warrant Northern Lights coming in to do mass testing. We were having productive conversations with the provider. Those hit a roadblock yesterday, but we remain committed to establishing this additional support for our staff and families. Now I would like to update you on our technology rollout plans. I am happy to report that pre-K through grade 2 iPads have shipped and are scheduled to arrive this week. Our hardworking IT team will begin to prepare iPads for distribution, and we hope to begin delivering them to schools by the end of this week or early next week for distribution during next week, all the way up to before the winter break on December 22nd. This will go a long way to getting us closer to one-on-one at the elementary school level. Our grade 3 through 12 Chromebooks continue to be delayed due to the global supply chain issues that we've discussed before. The current estimate for delivery has now been moved up to January, which had created some additional complications, but we've been able to secure permission from the State Department of Education to allow us to extend the reimbursement from our CRF funds, even when it carries over into the next year. And I want to thank our Executive Director for Budget and Finance, Miranda Fasulo, for her hard work to secure that agreement from the State Controller's Office. We're making every effort to ensure that the order is received before the end of the year, but it's reassuring to know that we will still be able to take that order, even if it does not arrive before the end of this calendar year. So our plan is to collect all of our used devices that are currently deployed with students in grades pre-K and 2 and redistribute them to students in grades 3 through 5, along with any devices that we've reclaimed from our deployment of new staff computers, and use all of those combined to plug as many holes as possible with our students in grades 3 through 5. This has been a long and frustrating process. I just want to remind everyone that we placed the order for all of these devices way back in August, and this is now starting to trickle in. So I do want to thank everyone for their patience and resilience as we've tried to work through these issues. As we approach the start of the second trimester, I would like to update you on the status of our remote academy enrollment. As you know, we surveyed families to see whether they wish to remain or return to in-person instruction. At this time, we have 71 students who are returning to remote academy, and we have made those slots available to 52 students who are on waiting lists and were interested in making the move to full remote. With those transfers, our enrollment in remote academy dropped to 822 from 841 where it stood before that. And so now I would like to ask Assistant Superintendent Erin Townsend to lead us through an update on our fall co-curricular season and preview what lies ahead for the winter season. And I know he's joined by our high school co-curricular directors, as well as some of our middle school athletic directors. So I will turn it over to you, Erin.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent, and good evening, everybody. And again, congratulations to Chair Figdor, and welcome to all the new board members and student board members. I look forward to working with you throughout your terms. I will say just a few brief words and then turn it over to our wonderful group of colleagues at our high schools and middle schools to lead us through the presentation. But we'll just do a brief update on a brief recap of how the fall went, and then preview the winter season coming up. Per our board reopening plan, we've been committed to following kind of MPA guidelines for athletics in service of being able to provide our students with a variety of different opportunities for safe but healthy in-person activities to continue to support them in their social emotional development throughout the pandemic. So first, I'd like to appreciate all 5 of our co-curricular directors, Lance Johnson at Portland High, Michael Daly at Deering High, Phil Darras at Moore, Duke Madsen at King, and Mark McLaughlin at Lincoln Middle School. They've done an incredible amount of work trying to stay connected with their colleagues across the state in understanding what at times has been a challenging level of change and communication from state agencies around the guidance to be able to develop and manage and implement safe athletic and co-curricular programs for our students in PPS. So appreciations to them for their hard work. As with all of this, it has taken an incredible team effort to be able to make this happen. So I will call up. We have a short presentation to share this information, and I believe Mr. Daly is going to lead us off.
Thank you, Erin. And thank you, board, and welcome new members, and congratulations to Ms. Figdor as well. So I will be giving an update and a summary on the fall high school athletic season, and then Lance will speak about the winter high school, and then we'll have an update about middle school sports as well. So this fall for high school sports at Deering, Portland, and with Casco Bay high school students, we had a competitive season, which was approved by the MPA, so a more traditional competitive high school season with boys and girls cross country, field hockey, which is a co-op, boys and girls soccer, co-ed golf, and co-ed esports, which was a new sport this fall at Deering. The activity season, which is different than the competitive season because it was deemed to be higher risk. So this was a season for cheer, football, 7v7 without pads, and girls volleyball, and everything was outdoors. So these were higher risk. So it was a different season, but they still had an activity season and an opportunity to practice and compete. We had our first date of practices September 14th. The final fall competition was November 11th, although esports is a little non-traditional. It continues through December in the fall season. Some of the highlights: all fall sports and activities were conducted outdoors. Soccer, field hockey had about 10 competitive games in the competition season. Golf and cross country played 4 dates or matches and had a postseason. Volleyball and football had about 3 or 4 competition dates. And sorry, I'm missing out. And then cheer had workouts only, but they did cheer at some home soccer and volleyball events. Thanks, Aaron. Just as a safety review, things we had to do to make sure that high school sports was safe for our student athletes and the community. For the competitive sports and activities in the fall, masks were required for all participants, except during competitive play, practices, and workouts. Masks were required by all coaches, staff, administrators 100% of the time. Again, no use of any indoor facilities except for bathroom use, being escorted by a staff member. No fans were permitted at any SMA or competitions this fall, and that will continue into the winter. Challenges that we ran into from a high school AD's perspective and event management, monitoring the safety protocols during games, especially kind of making sure the standard was set with the visiting teams when they came to our facilities, conducting the health screenings for athletes and staff. We certainly got a good system going with our athletic trainers once we got that up to speed, but it was certainly a challenge and something we had to educate our student athletes and coaches on. And then managing open facilities. So we had some events outdoors, obviously, that were usually not outdoors. So outdoor volleyball match was open, especially at Deering here and at the Oaks for Portland, and cross-country meets. So we had to manage no attendance at those events in an open space. So that was a little different, but manageable. Governor's mask mandate took effect the last 2 days of our fall season. So our athletes wore masks in practices and games the last 2 days of fall. And travel and transportation in these times certainly are different and a little bit challenging. So we're not advocating carpooling to or from team practices for events or games. We ask for waivers for family transportation when being driven to or from an event or practice. Buses that we had this fall, there were few because we traveled a little bit less. The max was 24 on a bus. Some were 27. All had masks on, spacing between the seating, and then open windows when possible, which was most of the fall. And travel was restricted to Cumberland County for all competitions and through Greater Portland mainly for the games. I think the last piece of this would be the participation overview from the fall. So for Portland High School, participation numbers, 290 participants in 9 sports. And this data is coming from our new tracking system in Infinite Campus at both schools. So again, they had 92 students, 32% non-white, 198 were white, 68% of the participants. And then we see the student numbers for the school from Portland right there. For Deering, we had 228 participants in 10 sports. Again, 100 students or 44% non-white, and 128 students white, 56%. And this is just to highlight our new tracking in Infinite Campus for all of our co-curriculars, which we're excited about being able to have that information to share with you. That's all for our fall update. I'm going to hand it over to Phil for the middle school update.
Good evening. Yeah, the middle schools were really excited that we were able to provide a very positive intramural skills and drills program during the fall. It started a little later than our normal programming would have, but we were able to go through the first week of November with this programming. The programs that we offered were co-ed soccer, co-ed tennis, co-ed cross country, and girls field hockey during that time. We had a total of 388 students across the 3 middle schools that were able to participate. we had 41% non-white and 59% white participating, and our totals are at the bottom for the 3 middle schools. I just wanted to point out that the middle schools also follow the same safety protocols as the high school where applicable. We didn't want to be redundant and post all those on here during this. We mask for all, limited sharing of equipment, sanitation after every session. We limited during this time to the cohorts that were in school on those days. So we had A-day intramurals and B-day intramurals during that time. As a co-curricular director and a physical education teacher, I want to just mention that it was wonderful when we saw those students outside and getting moving again. They loved it. It was wonderful to see. So, all right, going on to winter high school.
Hello. Are we ready for me to take over?
Yep. Yeah, Lance, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to give you a little bit of an update here on how we're going to try and start winter athletics at the high school level. We have protocols in place, a little bit different than how we started the fall. All athletes will have to keep their masks on at all times. So all the participants in the winter season, athletes, coaches, officials, administrators, anybody that's in the building, will be required to wear a mask properly at all times. Everybody must use hand sanitizer upon entrance, during breaks, and when leaving. Everyone must remain physically distanced whenever possible, 6 feet or more. Student athletes must bring their own water bottle, and they should be the only person that touches their water bottle. Nobody should be filling up a water bottle for anybody. That the student athlete is the only person that should be touching their water bottle. We have student athletes complete a daily COVID-19 health screening. Any concerns or responses are followed up by our certified athletic trainers, our school nurses, and sometimes we get a physician involved. No locker rooms are being used for fall sports. All participants must come prepared and leave as soon as the practice or contest is over. A little bit different from high school, but it's kind of what they've been doing in sports this summer if they were playing hockey, or this fall if they were involved in an AAU sport. It's what they're kind of getting used to. So for the winter, there's a 50-person limit for indoor practices or contests. So therefore, there are no spectators allowed at indoor events. And this is also written in the MPA guidelines, no spectators. It would be hard to fit anybody else in for some of our sports anyway. There may be spectators allowed at outdoor events like Nordic skiing or alpine skiing. Facilities are required to abide by the 100-person limit. Okay, the limit includes the skiers, coaches, and staffs. So it might be a little trickier having an event outside, but we'd have to try and monitor the spectators and keep our event under 100. And I think one other thing that just happened on Friday, the MPA did update their guidelines, and team activities can't start until January 4th. And what that means for our teams is that everybody needs to stay 6 feet apart for the entire practice. They can work on skills and individual drills, but nobody should ever get within six feet of another person, and always have their mask on. So these are the high school sports that are being offered this winter. I'll just go over our plan and then talk about a little hiccup we've had here at Portland High School. But December 7th, basketball, Nordic skiing, swimming was getting started. And we were also planning on starting hockey. We pushed that off till the 14th. At Portland High School, we're trying the week of 14th to get our sports up and running because of our COVID cases. We've delayed the start of sports for Portland High student athletes this week, and we're hoping to get them started the beginning of next week, or maybe a little sooner. Right now, we're holding off on wrestling. The wrestlers may get together with the coaches and do some conditioning, but they can't do anything that looks like wrestling. They'd have to stay 6 feet apart. And there's an opening for a season, maybe in the end of February, where hopefully we can get wrestling and girls volleyball games going at that time. Michael and I are going to work on a plan for unified basketball. It's a more vulnerable group, and we have to take a look at gym facilities and how we can manage that activity safely and keep everyone safe as best we can, and do that activity for those kids. Maybe a little bit more individual skill competitions and not team competitions, but there's things we need to work on to provide a unified basketball program. So on January 4th, all winter high school sports team practices are scheduled to begin. That's when teams would be able to start to scrimmage, play one-on-one, have defenders, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and defend, and start to play the sports like they're played in the games and have some scrimmages. We've provided enter and exit plans. They've been developed for every facility that we use. Athletic training areas. I know, like we've set one up in the expo upstairs instead of downstairs, so we can keep the student athlete and the trainer in open areas as much as possible. There are designated isolation areas for all facilities that we use, including the pools and the ice arena. Sports have been modified for safety purposes by the MPA. For example, in basketball, there's no jump ball. In boys hockey, there's 2 halves instead of 3 periods, so we can get the game done faster. And cheering and swim, probably instead of having meets, there'll be virtual meets, so we won't be having other teams come into facilities. And we wanted to point out that if Cumberland County is designated yellow on a Friday, then that is red for athletics. And athletics would be red. There'd be no after-school activities until Cumberland County went back to green. And now I'm going to pass it back to Phil for an update on middle school winter athletics.
All right. So if maybe some of you don't realize that the middle schools have 2 winter seasons. So we enter winter 1 right now, which is basketball. And it's traditionally just 7th and 8th grade basketball at the middle schools. So that's what we're focusing on. Again, I don't want to be redundant. We are following the same safety protocols as the high school for our activities. Our start date was yesterday, both at King and Lincoln for skills and drills, intramurals, and tryouts. More is going to start a week later due to our shutdown. During that skills and drills, intramurals, and tryouts, that's going to be, again, cohort based. So A cohort, B cohort, and we've added an evening for remote students who want to participate in skills drills and intramurals in that tryout period. On January 11th, we're going to be, by that point, we're going to be selecting our 7th and 8th grade boys and girls basketball teams and begin practices as the high school teams will be, with inter-squad scrimmaging at that time. But from December 7th to the 11th, it'll be skills and drills, a 6-foot distance, and no scrimmaging. January 25th, at our last Southern Maine Middle School Athletic Conference meeting, there were many schools they're saying that if we stay green, we would put a schedule out. So we're looking at a possible regional schedule, a 5-team schedule. So King, Lincoln, and Moore would be 3 of the teams, and we'd have 2 more in our region that we would try to be playing and get an 8-game season in, if possible. And again, we're following the same athletic safety protocols as outlined by the high schools and the MPA, and we're hoping to get our kids out and playing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all again for being here this evening and sharing this update and for your work to help make these kinds of activities available for students in the coming weeks, given that we're continued to be allowed to do so and our color designation stays green. So that's it, Superintendent, for this update.
Is there any way we can ask a question, Superintendent? Just need a quick questions. Can I? Yeah. Sure, thank you. Really, thank you. I just want to know the reaction from the students. If we heard any feedback from the student, because those are new accommodation and those are the students
Ms. Bondo, you were muted. We heard the beginning.
Feedback from the student, what they've been see as a positive or any challenges, anything, then we can take away. And also about the new sports, the co-ed sports, then during Just Start, what kind of feedback we just get from them starting the new sport? Thank you.
Yeah, I can say from the fall sports and just starting winter sports yesterday, it's been a bit humbling because of all the work and the preparation and the stress that goes into all of these regulations. And then we walk in and our students are amazing. They're so happy to be together. They're so respectful. They're just making our job so much easier when it's, stressful and full of angst to try to maintain all these protocols. I went out to Nordic Ski today. They were wonderful, socially distanced, just so welcoming. They've been great. They're thanking their coaches. We had basketball skills last night. We had these freshman girls walking up to the coaches, socially distanced on the way out and say, thank you so much. They were just so happy to be there. So I think it's from a social emotional learning and wellness standpoint, it's exceeded what I expected, I would say, from my standpoint. It's been even more important to them and they seem so happy. It's just great and wonderful to see. And I don't want to steal the mic too much, but the esports, we started in fall as kind of after feedback and we talked to the board about it last year and we weren't sure how it was going to go. And it took off. We have 28 participants, okay. And we're undefeated in first place in Maine. We're actually going to play in the playoffs this week, and it's again exceeded our expectations. And the participation is from students who may have never participated in any of our activities before. So the mix of students is just wonderful. And we have girls and boys. We have kids from Casco Bay. So it's a wonderful mix. So it's going very well.
All right, thank you so much. This is good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bondo. Do any of our student reps want to respond to Ms. Bondo's question? Anything else you have to add?
I will always jump in about this COVID school situation that's going on. And I'm a senior at Portland High School right now, and I also have a younger sibling that attends, and she's a freshman. And I have a younger brother that is also attending Lincoln Middle School. So I hear a lot about sports and social distancing and school and how everything's going, and they are both very happy. It's difficult, times are tough, but we really have to make the best of the situation that we're going through, and that's what they're doing. And I'm not at school, I'm fully remote, but I am very thankful that they're still able to participate in these sports because it's so important for their social and emotional growth for them to be able to do this. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. Superintendent Botana, anything else to complete your remarks?
Yeah, just as I do at every meeting, I know that, I want to acknowledge that we've asked a lot of staff, students, and families. You heard some examples of that, both from the report of our ADs as well as from Abby's comments, and that they've risen to that challenge and, just implore everyone to continue to work together to ensure that our students can continue to have a safe and successful learning experience this fall. So, and that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I see Ms. Russell-Better has her hand up. Ms. Russell-Better.
Hi. Is it okay to just ask Superintendent about a couple of things you discussed earlier in your report? And it was a while back, but I didn't want to keep everybody else on. Okay. So I just had a couple questions about, I was so glad to hear about the iPads coming in, and I know there's the delay about the Chromebooks. I was just trying to understand in those orders and the needs when those orders are being placed, are those entirely for students that are in hybrid right now, or is that both remote academy students and hybrid? I mean, I know the needs for remote students because they've been, needing a device from right off, right? So I was just trying to wrap my head around whether it was sort of figuring out everybody's needs, or was that order and what's coming in more for the hybrid students?
Purchased enough devices for everybody in the school district, including a refresh for our high schools and middle schools, which, currently had devices one-to-one already. So that was part of what we ordered. We prioritized at the start of the year, making sure that our remote academy students had devices. So we've taken care of that back in October. We were able to get one fully for our remote students. So we would expect that everybody will have them. The biggest gap that we had, as you heard in my report, is students in grades. In all the elementary grades, we were able to get devices to our pre-kindergarten students about a month ago, and we are now getting the iPads, which we will then be able to distribute to students in pre-K through grade 2. We will replace the devices that we gave our pre-kindergarten students and redeploy those to students as we can. And then the biggest hole then is our students in grades 3 through 5 that do not have a device, and that's where we're prioritizing, taking either devices that we get back from students in pre-K through 2 that are getting new iPads, and so redeploying those to their older siblings, to other families that don't have devices, as well as some of the reclaimed staff devices are being redeployed to those students. So that's our biggest gap, and that's where we are now trying to be very surgical about understanding who needs a device and trying to get those students' needs met.
Okay, so the iPads are going to the pre-K to 2, and then it sounds like trying to redistribute the technology that's there for the 3 to 5 until the rest of those Chromebooks can come in. Because I'm just wondering also, I mean, everybody needs it, but I'm just thinking from my own experience and hearing people that are doing hybrid, some classes obviously can't do as much of the remote work from home, depending on what technology families have. So it sounds like it's just really trying to get whatever devices are available. It's not the pre-K to 2, just those iPads they're going to be here, so they're going to get those first, just because that was the plan for the devices, the iPads for the littler ones. Is that right? And then it's just trying to redistribute. That's helpful. I just wanted to make sure I understood how everybody was getting. Okay, thank you. And then could I just ask about testing briefly? I just was trying to understand a little bit about when you said on-site with Northern Lights, the rapid testing, so does that mean in buildings for staff when there are circumstances of potential outbreaks? Like how would that happen, that on-site testing? I know you said there was a new, trying to figure out a new partner, so I know some of that isn't sorted out, but for right now, how would that come about and how would that play out to do the on-site testing?
Right. So right now we do on-site testing when we have a large number of close contacts that warrants being able to contract with Northern Lights to come in and do that. So that's what we did earlier this week at Portland High because of the large number of students that were affected. We did that a couple weeks ago at Lyman Moore as well. So those are the two instances where we've done that. We have, since the beginning of the year, had symptomatic testing. So that's when somebody shows up at school and has a cough or whatever the symptoms might be, or staff person or somebody tells us that they have symptoms and they're not coming into school, but they don't know where to go get testing. So we have a place just below where I am right now that is staffed by Greater Portland Health, and they are able to administer that that testing and give people immediate feedback on whether they are positive or not for COVID. So, but that's only for symptomatic individuals. So the gap that we have right now is when we don't have a large outbreak, we have maybe, a case where there's 3 or 4 close contacts, which, we have had a significant number of those. And in those cases, at this point, we do not have a solution for people other than to say, contact your physician, go to Walgreens, all of those other things. And our nurses are awesome about giving people information about where to go and get testing, but we don't have a way to actually do that for those folks. And so we are in the process of trying to hire someone that would be on site like Tuesdays and Fridays or something along those lines at a fixed location that we would be able to say, in 3 days after you've been, there's just supposed to wait a certain amount of time before you get your test, you can go to this site and get tested, and at no cost, because it will be absorbed by us. So that's our gap right now. That's what we are trying to, that's the gap that we're trying to fill right now.
Okay, thank you. And that would be for students and staff as well, trying to figure out that asymptomatic testing?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent Townsend, and all of the athletic directors. It's very helpful to understand the latest on our sports. Okay, with that, we are going to move to our first report from one of our student reps. And today we are going to hear from student rep Emily Chung. So thank you so much, Emily, for being the first, giving us the first student report of the year, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Vigdor. Hello, school board members and Portland Schools community. To begin my report on behalf of the Deering community, I would like to thank all of our healthcare professionals, especially Deering school nurse Elizabeth Nally, who's been working endlessly to maintain the safety of our community. Ms. Nally has now started scheduling virtual appointments with students who need medical attention. Next, I would like to congratulate a long list of active and engaged Deering students, starting with 28 students on the Deering and Casco Bay their new esports team, and head coach Kyle Davenport for having a record of 18-0 and being first place in Maine's high school ranking. Our team is the #1 seed in the upcoming Maine high school playoffs starting December 12th. Deering's fall athletes of the year are Megan Cunningham for girls cross country and Muntasir Ahmed for boys soccer. Deering's fall sports newcomers of the year are Jada Stevenson of girls soccer, Carlos Adriano Moaco of boys soccer, and Charlie Benedict of DHS's football team. One of our seniors, Hadley Poyer, has signed a letter of intent to attend Mary Mac College to run track and cross country for the Warriors, a Division I team. And at the November 21st tournament, our debate team members Emily Chung and Balkiswa Muhammad took second place, and Lynn Nguyen and Aiden Bloom-Levine took third place. The overall team placed third for debate. The team has 7 new students participating in tournaments this year, 5 in congressional debate and 2 in public forum. And besides student achievements, we have some school achievements that I would like to report. Some new clubs and activities we are providing for students include anime/webtoon, the student equity team, a contemporary ensemble, a fashion and design club, and Girls Who Code. We have created a devoted program called SLIFE for English learner newcomers who have had interruptions in their formal education. These students worked on a project together, interviewing local doctors, government officials, and business people about the effects of COVID on our community. Other ELL students are now able to access classes in our cafeteria. Our schools also just completed the fall parent-teacher conferences. And the last aspect I would like to acknowledge is our new advisory program, which is based on our previous DC model. A randomized group of students in one grade is paired with one teacher from sophomore year to senior year. We meet twice a week, once in person and once virtually. Calls and reports are also given each month to parents from advisors to keep ties strong between Deering and the families we serve. This month, each advisory is setting up a community service project to give back during these stressful times. And this now concludes my board report for Deering High School. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chung. And I think congratulations is in order for your debate performance. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. It's great to hear. So next we're going to move to our minutes. And so we're moving to consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes from November 17th, 2020.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Is there a second? Mr. Rodriguez. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, any public, Mr. Rodriguez.
More of a procedural question, and this came up earlier. Because the incoming board members were part of the caucus, but not part of the meeting, if we can just give them a little bit of direction of how they should vote here, whether abstaining or approving them. I spoke to Ms. I can't remember where, I think it was with Yusuf that came up earlier today, but whatever guidance we can get there.
My guidance would be to do what you feel comfortable with. Since you weren't participating in the meeting as a board member, I think you're free to abstain on this vote. But you can, do what makes the most sense from your perspective. Does that work? Any questions on that? Okay. Is there any public comment on the motion? This is again to approve our minutes from our November 17th meeting. Okay. Any board discussion? All right, we will move to the vote. Mr. Superintendent, will you take the roll? So by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of approving the meeting minutes of November 17th, 2020.
Ms. Bondo?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Russell-Better?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Trevorrow?
Yes.
Mr. Yusuf?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Boxer-McCumber? Ms. Chung?
Yes.
Ms. Hill? And Chair Figdor.
Yes. Terrific. The vote is unanimous and the minutes are passed. Okay, next we are going to move to acknowledge donations made to the school. Will the superintendent speak to this item?
Yes, Madam Chair. Under Board Policy KCD, the school board accepts by unanimous consent contributions made to the school district. As required by the policy, all of the donations are listed in the board agenda under this item, and our practice is for each donor to receive a written contribution acknowledgement expressing our heartfelt gratitude as well as for their tax purposes. I would like to thank the many generous contributors to the Portland Public Schools who have made donations of durable goods, goods of substantial value and historical or commemorative significance, including clothing and toys worth $250 from Michelle Bellinger, a Volvo Marine diesel engine worth $499 for student use at Paths from Tom Dudley, face masks from Melanie Beltane, and children's clothing from the Herod Kim family. We're very grateful for their generous support and contributions to the work of the Portland Public Schools.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we're moving to new business. And the first item of new business is consideration and action to appoint Councillor Mark Dion as City Council co-chair of the District Advisory Building Committee. Superintendent. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. I think first let's have the superintendent speak to this motion.
Actually, you need a motion first.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Bondo.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the help along the way. Okay, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes. So where am I? Here we go. In December of 2017, the board approved the establishment of a district building advisory committee, the DABC, to advise the board on matters related to the renovation of the 4 elementary schools under the Buildings for Our Future bond. The DABC consists of 2 city council members, 3 school board members, and 6 members of the general public. The council, the council co-chair is vacant with the transition of Councillor Justin Costa, who has served in that role since the inception of the DABC. After consultation with the mayor, board chair Figdor is proposing that Councillor Mark Dion be appointed to serve in that role alongside the board's DABC chair, which is board member Sarah Thompson. Next, after that, you will also have another appointment that is that former board member Balfons, as he's transitioned off the board, has left a vacancy as he was serving on the DABC, and Chair Figdor is seeking to appoint board member Aura Russell Better to replace Mr. Balfons. So at that, you will be taking 2 votes tonight, so you will need to, again, have a motion for the appointment of Ms. Russell Better to replace Mr. Balfons as a board member on the DABC after we go through with the appointment of Councillor Dion.
Thank you so much. Since these are not my nominations, I want to speak briefly ahead of our questions and discussion, so you can hear a little bit about my thinking of why I'm first nominating Councillor Mark Dion for the vacant City Council seat on the District Advisory Building Committee, as well as move into the co-chair position with School Board Member Thompson. Councillor Dion was very involved in the early stages of passing the $64 million bond. He was did everything from knocking on doors to speaking at news conferences, creating videos, really to help the community understand why there was a need for the bond. And so when we had this vacancy on the committee, and he was just yesterday inaugurated as the District 5 City Councilor, it seemed like the very natural thing to continue to have him play an active role in seeing through the renovation of our 4 elementary schools. When I reached out to him to talk with him about whether he was interested and had the time to do this, he jumped at the opportunity and has been really steadfast throughout this, the many years that this has been an issue before the board and the city in really being steadfast in seeing, knowing that these schools need to be renovated and wanting to help advance it. So I'm really pleased to be able to nominate him tonight. And I know that he will do very good work and be a real steady hand along with our co-chair for the committee, School Board Member Thompson. So with that, are there questions on the nomination from the board? Okay, and is there any public comment? And if you, as a member of the public, are interested in commenting on this nomination to the district of Mark Dion, to the district level advisory committee, you can use the raise your hand function on Zoom, and I will unmute your microphone and allow you to speak for up to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing that there isn't public comment, is there board discussion? Okay, so let's go forward with the vote. So we're going to do a roll call vote, and please indicate whether you support the nomination of Councillor Mark Dion to the district level district advisory building committee, and also for him to serve as co-chair of the committee. Mr. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Ms. Bondo?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Russell-Better?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Trevorrow?
Yes.
Mr. Youssef?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Boxer-McComber? Ms. Plum?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes.
And Chair Figdor?
Yes. Excellent. So the nomination is unanimous. And now we are moving next to consideration and action to appoint board member Ora Russell-Better to replace outgoing board member Mark Belfons on the District Advisory Building Committee. Is there a motion? Okay, I missed who that was. Can we do that again? Ms. Thompson. Is there a second? Ms. Trevorrow. Terrific. So the superintendent already spoke to this. Unless, Mr. Superintendent, is there anything else you'd like to say at this point? Okay, I'm going to speak to the motion, and then we'll take questions from the board and public comment. I am so pleased tonight to nominate Ora Russell-Better to the District Advisory Building Committee. Like Councillor Dion, Ora played an instrumental role in advancing the bond over the course of probably a year and a half as a community member. She served on the lead group of parents and community members who worked together to really get the word out about the need for the renovations and to build support in the community. It is one, as I think everyone knows, one real signature of the work to renovate these schools has been that there are leaders at each of the 4 schools that really came together. We're all in it together and worked together so well. And Ora was that person at Przemysl. And so I'm so pleased to nominate her today to continue her leadership in a new role on the district level district advisory building committee as we get close to sending the Presumpscot project and the other 2 projects out to bid. And as Lyseth wraps up the work over the next year or so. Are there any questions on the nomination? Okay. Now I'm going to open up for public comment. So again, this is public comment on the nomination of board member Russell Better to the District Advisory Building Committee. And if you're interested in making a public comment, you can use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and I will acknowledge you, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Okay, so I don't see any public comment. So is there any board discussion? Ms. Thompson.
Sorry, I'm trying to find that raise your hand function. I'm not doing well tonight. I just wanted to welcome both my to-be co-chair, Mark Dion, as well as Aura, and concur with Ms. Figdor that both of them were very involved in the BFOF and the campaign to get the, excuse me, on the referendum. So I welcome them both, and I'm happy to bring you both up to speed. I think, Aura, that you've been to many of our meetings already, but happy to help in any way. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted, just like Ms. Thompson said, just to thank both of them for volunteering for this. Excellent choices. Aura, having been involved in this work from a very early stage, and of course, having been a community member in the committee, just makes her a perfect fit. So, proud to support their nominations, and again, thank them for volunteering for their work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Okay, any more board discussion? Okay, by roll call vote, please indicate whether you're in favor of the nomination of board member Russell Better to the District Advisory Building Committee.
Ms. Bonda?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Russell Better?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson? Ms. Thompson?
Yes, but I can't barely hear you.
Well, somebody is active, and so if you would just mute yourself if you're not speaking, that would be super helpful. It's not on my end. I apologize for that, Ms. Thompson. Mr. Lara?
Yes.
Mr. Youssef?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Boxer McCumber?
Yes.
Ms. Chung?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes.
And Chair Figdor?
Yes. Terrific. Thank you so much, Superintendent, and welcome, Aura. Next, we have first read to approve the superintendent's recommendation for continuing and reducing services currently funded through the Coronavirus Relief Fund after December 31st, 2020. And we will have a board workshop on this at the end of our meeting, and then we will vote on it at our next meeting on December 22nd. So next we have first read to authorize the superintendent to proceed with development of design specifications and seek bids for the rebuilding of Longfellow Elementary School, Reiki Community School, and Presumpscot Elementary School under the Buildings for Our Future bond. And again, we will have a workshop on this at the close of our meeting, and we'll vote on this item at our next meeting on December 22nd. So with that, we're moving to personnel issues, and we have consideration and action to approve personnel items listed, and this is for probationary positions. Ms. Stoddard, do you want to speak to this motion?
Certainly. Tonight, we are bringing forward one educator for your approval for hire this year.
Thank you. Let's see, did I need to do a motion there? I did need to do a motion. Sorry, I will get it. Is there a motion? Mr. Rodriguez, is there a second? Ms. Thompson, thank you. All right, my apologies for that. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, there's no public comments on personnel items, so is there any board discussion?
Yes, I have just a clarification question.
Yes, Ms. Bondo.
All right. Yeah, I just want to get clear in my mind with those 1 year position. So those are the backfill position, or so what's going to happen after the 1 year? So that's a replacement, or after 1 year we just need to get another teacher to the same position, or just get me a clarification, Bob, please.
Can I ask you to hold that until the next vote? This position is not a 1 year only. This is a regular hire. And then the chair will bring forward the 1 year onlys, and I'll answer the question at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other board discussion? Okay, by roll call, please indicate whether you are in favor of approving the personnel items listed. This is the probationary ones.
Ms. Bondo?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Russell Better?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Varro?
Yes.
Mr. Youssef?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Boxer McCumber? Ms. Chung?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes.
And Chair Figdor.
Yes. Okay, terrific. Now we're moving to consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, and these are the 1 year only positions. Is there a motion? Mr. Burke, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Are there questions on the motion? Sorry, Ms. Stoddard, do you want to speak to the motion?
Certainly. We're asking you to approve these two 1 year only probationary teachers. These are both backfills for teachers who went to remote academy. So they are for just this year only.
Excellent. Thank you. Ms. Bondo, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Can
Thank you.
We have new board members. Would you mind doing a quick overview of what a 1 year only could be, not just this particular situation where it's what does it mean to be a 1 year only teacher?
Certainly. So we hire 1 year onlys for many situations. We might have somebody who's taken a 1 year leave of absence. That could be for medical reasons or other reasons. And so we hire them as a regular educator for the year. They are placed on the scale. They're a member of the union if they choose to be, so they're covered by that contract. But it is with the understanding that it is for 1 year only. And at the end of the year, we thank them for their service, generally because another educator is returning to fill that slot. So the vacancy is just for 1 year only. And this year we had a number of those created because of staff who moved to remote academy, and we had reasons to backfill those, or we, for staffing purposes in terms of the numbers we needed for cohorts, we may have added some additional staff. And again, those were on a 1 year only basis.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Ms. Stoddard. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, there's no public comment on personnel items, so is there any board discussion? Okay, by roll call, please indicate whether you're in favor of approving the personnel items listed, and these are the one-year only positions.
Ms. Bondo?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Russell-Better?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Trevorrow?
Yes.
Mr. Youssef?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Boxer-McCumber?
Yes.
Ms. Chung?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes. Sorry.
And Chair Fichter.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Okay, given that it is before the hour of 10, far before the hour of 10, we are now moving to public comment. So is there any public comment on items not on this evening's agenda? And as a reminder, here are the procedures for how public comment will be taken. Members of the public use the raise your hand feature provided by Zoom. This feature is either found on the webinar control bar at the bottom of your screen or can be found by selecting your name on the participant screen. I will call on the Zoom name of the public participant with their hand raised to address the board. Members of the public are asked to state their name and address and will have 3 minutes to comment. Should you near the 3-minute mark, I will see if additional time is needed. An additional 3 minutes may be granted by board consent. If additional time is granted and the speaker reaches the 6-minute mark, please know that your mic will be muted. All right. So we're now opening public comment. If you'd like to address the board, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. All right, it does not look like we have public comment tonight. So we are going to move to adjourn. But just as a reminder, after we adjourn, we have 2 workshops. One on the buildings for our future school renovations, and then after that on the budget implications that we face with the coronavirus relief funds ending at the end of this calendar year. So is there a motion to adjourn the business meeting?
So moved.
Ms. Thompson.
A second.
Second by Ms. Bondo. All in favor, you can indicate by raising your hand. All right, it is unanimous and we are adjourned.